It all begins with a simple knock at the door. You'll find an agent introducing himself as an agent of a modeling agency. Ma'am, you're looking for a model. You ask, what kind of model? Well, just like you, with black hair, petite body. Would you mind if I come inside your house? Thank you very much. And just like that, you become a news headline in the newspaper. And the neighbor who was strangled by the Boston Strangler.
The year was 1962. People were buying tear gas, new locks, and dead balls for their doors. Women were so scared they were moving out from their locality. There would be a knock on the door, and a handsome tall man would appear in the door, asking to take the pictures for recruiting them as models. Dozens of doors were knocked, 13 doors opened, 13 murders took place, 13 victims, ranging from the age of 85 years old to that of 19 years old. The culprit would make the excuse of taking measurements to fondle them and would then proceed to have sex with them. Some were happy and some were not. But all in all, when no modeling proposals came their way after months of waiting, they knew they had been duped, resulting into police complaints. There were so many complaints of such assaults that this man was named as the Measuring Man. A man called Albert de Salvo was arrested in the year 1961, who confessed that yes, he was in fact the Measuring Man.
After 11 months, Albert de Salvo, aka the Measuring Man, was released from jail. And just like me and you, he was able to breathe in this fresh air. However, with the appearance of him, people were unable to get out of their houses. Men were scared for their daughter, for their mother, for their wives. And women were afraid of this creature called man. They didn't want to let anybody come near their doors. And if you're wondering why exactly this was happening, because one fine morning in the year 1962, a news flashed in everybody's TV that a 55-year-old divorcee who was living all on her own in an apartment has been found naked lying in front of her bathroom. The way of her death? Well, apparently she had been strangled using the coat of her blue house coat, and it was fashioned in such a way, in such a dramatic way, it was knotted near her neck, and it was in the shape of a bow. Yes, a blue bow.
A month later or so, 68 years old Nina Nicholas was found with her own nylon stockings knitted around her neck, her legs spread, and her housecoat pulled up to her waist. She had been sexually assaulted with a wine bottle. Then one more, and then the fourth, who was 75 years old. She was strangled using a pillowcase knotted tightly around her neck. He had hooked her feet up in the rags of chairs in a position used for examining women in a gynecological test. In a span of 4 months, 4 elderly women were dead. So it was not something new or shocking that women were afraid of creatures called men. They would not let any postman, milkman to come near doors. Women were scared. They were terrified, so to say. Who doesn't love writing letters and receiving one? That is exactly what the 21-year-old Sophie Clark was doing in the early December of 1962. She was alone in her apartment and there was a knock at the door and she made the mistake of opening it. Later, her naked body with her legs spread apart was discovered by her flatmates along with her incomplete letter. She too was strangled with 3 of her nylon stockings tightly knotted around her neck in the shape of a bow. We generally think that serial killers have patterns, that they prey upon same kind of victims, that they have a certain style, but that is far from the truth. While they may have a pattern for some time, they keep changing it to put off the people. So here was the eighth victim, who was 23 years old, unlike her other elderly victims, and she had been stabbed 22 times, 4 times in the throat and 18 times in her left breast in the pattern of a bullseye. 2 handkerchiefs were noted at her neck. She was found by a concerned friend after she had failed to come to her choir practice. The moment he had opened the door, this was the scene he was confronted with. As if the killer almost wanted to show off his crimes to the person who enters the flat.
And just like that, the murders continued, one after another, until it finally came to a pause on 4th of January 1964 with the final victim. Her name was Mary Sullivan. Mary Sullivan was 19 years old, full of charm. She loved music, and she lived with two of her friends in a flat. One fine morning, she was left alone in the flat, and her friends came back to find her in the most deplorable, in the most horrific circumstances. They found their friend sitting on the bed upright with her legs spread apart and a broomstick. Yes, a broomstick was shoved into her private parts. And right beside the bed, her legs were spread apart and they were put, and in her left feet, they had found a card. Yes, a card. A card which said, Happy New Year. And with that, the strangler disappeared, only to resurface as the Green Man.
Thank you for watching till the end, and we'll soon meet you with the second part of the video.